Hello, and welcome to the Consumer Toolbox. I'm your host, Milagros Johnson, and I'm the director of the Springfield Mayor's Office of Consumer Information. We are a local consumer program funded by and working in cooperation with the Massachusetts Attorney General's Office. We serve consumers of Hampshire County and parts of Worcester County. We strive to educate you, the consumer, on your consumer rights and prevent you from becoming a victim of a scam or fraud. Our motto is education is the best prevention, and the Consumer Toolbox gives you the tools you need to become a savvy consumer. I hope you stay and watch. Today I have two guests, and I'm going to have them introduce themselves. Janice?
Hi, I'm Janice Garrett, and I work at the Northwestern District Attorney's Office, and we have, in the Consumer Protection Unit, and we have an office in Northampton and Hampshire County, and one in Greenfield and Franklin County.
Wonderful. Thank you for coming.
Thank you.
Kate?
Hi, Milagros. My name is Kate Alexander, and I coordinate the Berkshire Consumer Services office, which is based in Pittsfield, Mass., the heart of Berkshire County. So my purview is the 39 municipalities in Berkshire County, and we call it Consumer Services. We try to do as many different kinds of things as we can to help, as you say, empower the consumer.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. And combined, I mean, we do serve Western Massachusetts.
Exactly.
And so that's a large population. And I'm so glad that we're here today to compare notes and compare the types of different scams and different complaints that we handle every year. We, as we already know, we work with the Attorney General's office, and I'm sure you are as grateful as I am to be able to help consumers and work with the Attorney General. It is a very busy office. I know we're busy. Janice, I know you're busy. And Kate, I get your phone calls and emails all the time saying I have this type of case. And so I thought that it'd be wonderful if we can compare notes and let the consumers know of what's going on, because perhaps there may be some type of scam that you're hearing about that we're not hearing about here in Hampshire County, and the same thing with you, Jan. So our number one complaint every year is auto sales related, and that was my topic in my last program. And I had a guest speaker from the Springfield License Commission provide information regarding what consumers should do when they buy a car and it doesn't pass inspection. But that still is going to be our number one complaint. It has been for the past 14 years, and I suspect that it will continue to be a problem. Our number two complaint is home improvement, followed with auto repair, which I don't like. But we handle them. They're the most difficult to resolve, but at any rate, we still try, and we do resolve some of them, but they're very difficult to resolve. So Janice, what types of complaints is your office hearing of the most?
We certainly get a lot of car complaints. That's
do?
number
Okay.
two. Number one, retail sales. And it's
Retail?
number one by a lot. It's
Okay.
when you buy an appliance, a refrigerator, a stove, a dishwasher that floods your kitchen the first week you have it. You buy something online and it's not delivered. Or you want to return a product, but you don't necessarily know what the return policy is, or you think a product is defective. Those are the kind of complaints that we get a lot of. And it's changed now since we started, because people shop online a lot, which complicates things. It just adds another layer. It's not like the consumer can go down the street and walk in the store and resolve their issue. But that's number one. And number two is cars, same as yours, and I'm sure the same as yours.
Oh, yeah.
And you know, and you brought this up in the last show, but it bears repeating. It's necessary to repeat. It's so important for consumers to know what their rights are before they go shopping for that car. And I can safely speak for the rest of us that if they want to call us and find out what their rights are before they go shopping for that car, because it's a lot of money, they certainly can, and we're happy to get those kind of calls.
You know, we get a lot of complaints. Kate, I'll be with you in a second, so
No,
you can
take your
introduce what
time.
types of complaints you're hearing of. But if we're going to talk about auto sales, the types of complaints that we get are consumers that buy cars, as you know, and they don't have them checked out by a mechanic beforehand. And I get a lot of consumers, when I ask that you have it checked by a mechanic before you bought the car,
Right.
they say, oh no, the dealer didn't allow me to do that. They told me that I couldn't take it to a mechanic.
Right.
At this point, what do you tell your consumers?
I would tell a consumer to walk out.
Thank you.
Yeah.
You have the
Then-
power to walk away.
That's right.
If
you do.
consumers can remember that, then they won't find themselves having
Right.
a problem with the car that they want to buy. Because
You know-
a lot of times those cars are weaned out by their mechanic.
And we also get a lot of people that are questioning, well, I looked online afterward, after I bought the car, and there are a lot of complaints, and I want to return this car because I don't trust them, I don't trust the dealership anymore. But they have to remember they agreed, they signed a bill of sale, they bought the car, and now they have to, you know, they can work through us and we can try to help mediate a solution, but they bought the car. You know, and that's why it makes so much sense to do your research before. Check online. And I'm going to jump around a little bit, but don't write nasty things online about a company you're trying to mediate with. You know,
They burn the bridges before we can get
and
there.
it makes it very difficult. You know, and so I think consumers need to be careful about that too.
Now, going back to your stating that your number one complaint is retail sales, and you mentioned internet purchases. What advice do you give consumers that are going online to buy major products, such as a refrigerator or a dishwasher?
Well, I think it's important to try to do business with a company you know of and check them out. You know, if you're buying a refrigerator from Jan's Appliances, then check out, put Jan's Appliances complaints and check it out. You know, I think locally it's sometimes easier when you buy things locally because you can walk into the store and try to resolve your problems. If you want to buy online, that's fine too. We all do, you know, but you want to know what the return policy is.
Exactly.
You want to know what the terms and conditions are, you know, and so you just want to know as much information. Like any purchase, you want as much information before you make it.
Very good. Well, thank you for sharing that with us.
Your turn.
Kate, please tell me what types of complaints Berkshire County is getting the most of.
Well, Millie, our trends pretty much track your trends. I would say our 1 and 2, and they're so close I really can't say which is 1 and which is 2, are the auto cases, particularly used car purchases and repair, which often go hand in hand. The used cars they buy need repairs. And the second one would be home improvement contractors. One of the things I stress with consumers all the time relates to something Janice just said, and that is I try to encourage people to do their homework first, because by the time they come to us, they have a problem. And it's so easy to do some basic research on the dealership or the mom and pop status of a used car dealership. The complaints or kudos for mechanics who repair and who really do come through, and they're not making repairs that you don't need. But those two, I would say, lead mine. And like you, I hate auto cases. They are difficult. But I encourage people to shop in Berkshire County. We don't have a lot of the variety of shopping that here in Springfield there is. Well, we're in Ludlow, but in the Springfield area, and even in Janice's territory. So a lot of times people will go to Springfield and Holyoke. I have pretty good success with our local dealers because we are a word-of-mouth community. There's a couple of recalcitrant ones that are, I see more complaints from them, and they're a little more difficult. And I often hear, well, I bent over backwards for that customer. I was trying to help. They had bad credit.
That's one phrase that I've heard for too many times
Oh,
over the years.
yes.
I bend over backwards. I think they should think of a new one.
They really should come up with a better excuse.
Yes.
Oh, Kate, are you kidding? I bent over backwards for them. They didn't have any money. I did everything I could. I went over that. And yet, these are the cases where the consumer will tell me that they've asked for the paperwork on the repairs that were done, or they've asked for this or that, and well, it's in the computer, we can't really get it. And I tell them, you have every right to that paperwork. It's important that you obtain and keep that paperwork. You said on one of your shows recently, documentation is vital.
It's key.
And you can say, I talked to so-and-so, you can say, well, I'm pretty sure he did this. But if you have the work order and you learn from us, hopefully, the kinds of questions to ask and the kinds of homework to do before you go and buy, you'll be in such a more empowered and strong position to know what to do.
And I can add that consumers should always look on the Attorney General's website, go to our website. Jan, your division also has a very good website, and I hope these websites are going across the screen right now so that consumers can know where to go to educate themselves before making a purchase, before having the car repaired, before having a home improvement contractor come in.
Avoid the problem.
Avoid, exactly. And it is possible. I mean, things do, will fall through the cracks at times. But again, documentation is key. Thank you for reminding me of that. It's very important. And doing their research prior to making any type of purchase or investing any type of money into their home or a vehicle. So, go ahead,
I
Janice.
interrupt you for a second. You asked Janice something, and I just want to ditto that is excellent advice, what Janice gave. You said if they say that they want to go get the car looked at by a mechanic, say a used car, and that mechanic says, no, I'm sorry, I can't let you take it off the lot. And he'll give all kinds of, there's liability issues, he'll give all kinds of important sounding reasons why they can't do that. Walk out. Don't buy from them. There are other places to pick from. There are more fish in the sea, as they say.
Thank you. That's exactly what I tell them. There's another car, usually a better one too.
And even if there turns out to be nothing wrong with that car, you have the satisfaction of knowing that. And two, you know that if you do need to go back for customer service, that you're working with someone who is going to be cooperative. Where someone who says, no, you can't go have it looked at, I want you to just buy it the way it's nice. You said, I want you a nice, bright, shiny car, and the person needs a car, and it's within their budget, is as modest as that may be. Walk out. You can get a better deal.
And consumers should know that they should not have to pay the dealer to take the vehicle to a mechanic. They may have to pay their mechanic to have the vehicle checked thoroughly, and they may have to dig into their pocket and perhaps pay $30, $50 to have it put on a lift, but it may be the best investment they could make if the vehicle turns out to be a lemon.
Well,
but they shouldn't have to pay the dealer, and I'm hearing complaints from consumers that, well, they told me that I can take it to a mechanic, but I'd have to pay them to take the car off their lot to take it to a mechanic.
Really?
So yes, yes.
I haven't heard that, but I'm not surprised.
Okay.
I'm not surprised because it's just a discouraging thing. It's to talk the consumer out of doing it. And if that consumer, honestly, if we could just get consumers who try to be so nice, we're all raised to be nice to people and not to be confrontative or aggressive. I hate to say this, but especially women. We don't say, well, I cannot buy this car not knowing, and if the dealer says, well, I'm telling you there's nothing wrong with the car, I'll say, yes, but you're trying to sell me the car. I'd like an objective opinion. I wouldn't have surgery without a second opinion. So stand up to that dealer, and if they're really giving you a hard time, or they say, look, if you don't want to buy the car, go someplace else. Take them
up on their offer.
Take their advice. Yes.
Exactly. It's a good thing that we're talking about this because consumers are waiting for their tax returns to go out and buy cars. And a lot of dealers I know are sitting waiting for the customers to come in because the inclement weather has put a stop on the sales, I'm sure. I mean, I hear about it all the time. And I'm sure there's going to be a surge of car sales coming up as soon as the good weather breaks, which should be pretty soon.
Maybe.
Well, you need to remain optimistic, okay? And I need consumers to know that we're here for them, that there are resources for them. They're not alone. We give them the tools. Take advantage of it.
Right.
Take advantage. Our services are free. We're going to educate you for free. We're not going to criticize you. We're not going to come down on you. So let's get empowered and let's do what you're supposed to do. We're going to be taking a break in a few minutes. Okay. So if you have anything else to add about...
One more thing about buying a car.
Yes, please.
That if you, and we talked a little bit about the internet earlier, but it opens up the world. You're not just, if you live in Greenfield, you're not just buying a car in Greenfield necessarily. You're looking at Springfield, you're looking at Pittsfield, you're looking at Boston. And, maybe in Boston they have that car that's just the color you want and it's perfect and it's got whatever it is you want on that car, but it's 2 hours away. So that's fine, and you get that perfect car, and you go down there and you buy it and it's beautiful, and you bring it home and it breaks down. Now, you have to bring it back to them to get the repair done, and they're saying, we'll fix it. It's not a problem. And then you're saying it's 2 hours away, 3 hours away with traffic. You bought the car in Boston. So remember that. You know, it can be a long way to take the car to be repaired.
So there's a lot of things for consumers to consider before they buy a car.
And one should anticipate problems.
Okay.
Notwithstanding speaking positive, you should anticipate that with a car, there could always be a problem.
And we're always ready to help.
And we are always there to
ready
help.
to help. We'll be right back.
How much do you know about credit and debt? Stopping telemarketing calls? Separating facts from fiction and ads? Do you know how to shop safely online? Can you tell if you're being scammed or if your identity has been stolen? National Consumer Protection Week celebrates the free resources available online to help you make smart buying decisions, sniff out scams, and protect yourself from identity thieves and online threats. National Consumer Protection Week happens during the first week of every March, but really, any time is the right time to host your own consumer event. Visit ncpw.gov to get free consumer information, tools to host your own event, and timely topical consumer news year-round. That's ncpw.gov, the one site on the web with free consumer information from federal agencies, state governments, consumer organizations, and local consumer protection authorities. ncpw.gov. Come see us.
Welcome back to the Consumer Toolbox. I'm speaking with Janice Garrett and Kate Alexander, and we're comparing notes about the different types of complaints that our office handles as local consumer programs that we run. I wanted to talk about the second half of the show about the scams that we're hearing of. I know that we get an influx of calls each and every day. Some of them are calling to let us know that they could possibly have fallen victim of a scam. But I'm also very proud to say that a lot of consumers are calling to say, hey, listen, I watched you on TV, I read an article, I was told by my neighbor or my friend not to do this or that this scam was going on, and they did not fall victim of it. And so that's what we want to talk about. We want to empower you, because if you are on top of the game, they're not going to get you. And so Janice, I'm sure, has different types of complaints that you're hearing of that we may not be hearing of. I know our most common ones are obviously the IRS scam. It's very, very active right now throughout Hampden County. Where, and that, I'll explain it, is that consumers will answer their phone and there'll be a Washington, D.C. phone number on their caller ID, and the individual claims that the consumer, owes thousands of dollars and they're going to get arrested and they're going to come to their job, or that they have to pay it right now or else. And consumers are obviously letting their guard down, or they're putting fear on them.
They scare them.
Of course, especially the senior citizens, and those are the ones that we really want to reach out to. The IRS does not call consumers. So let's talk about scams and what we're hearing of, and what advice do we give and empower our consumers.
You know, it's interesting. We've received a lot of calls on the IRS scam also, and one thing I would say is that we're all potential victims. It doesn't matter how old you are. Everyone's a potential victim. They'll take your money, they'll take my money, they'll take, you know, my kids' money, they'll take anyone's money.
They'll take your identity.
That's right. Not only your money, but, and one of the things that people have told me, and I've heard this a number of times, is that the IRS agent calls them and they leave a message. And that makes it seem more legitimate to them. So they call back because we all pay our taxes. We all want to do the right thing. Like you said earlier, you know, we want to do the right thing. And so you get the call from the IRS, and of course the first thing you think is, what did I do wrong? Why are they calling me? And you call them and they scare you. And if you don't respond, they start getting aggressive with you. A friend of mine got this call, and she came very close, and she's a professional. She's smart, she's savvy, and she said to me, I don't know, but I just believed it. You know, I got that message, and, you know, I say to people all the time, we all have a moment when we can fall for something, and they're good at what they do. When they do these telemarketing calls, they become that agent, And, you know, and again, remember, they're not going to call you. The IRS is not going to
Never.
really call you. But they'll send you something in the mail, and then you can, and there are numbers you can call to verify information. But they are trying to scare you, and they do. And from my girlfriend, she said, fortunately, her husband came home and said, come on, it was just on TV. Didn't you see it? This is a scam. And she was ready to send money. And what they want you to do is to send a prepaid debit card. They want you to go to your department store, your convenience store, and get a card and put money on that card, call them back, and then read the number on the back of the card to them, and they're sitting there with their computer with another card, and they transfer the money onto their
Instantly.
card, and the money's gone. You're not going to have access to that money anymore, or they'll have you money wire it. The IRS is not going to ask you to get a prepaid debit card and call them back and give the number. It's just not going to happen.
Right. And unfortunately, consumers, that is the one time that we cannot help you.
Yeah.
We cannot help you recover the money because once it's gone, it's gone.
Right.
We work hard for our money. Let's hold on to it.
Right.
Before we go on do something like that, let's verify and let's make sure that the call is legit. And
Right.
chances are it's not. And even if it's a letter in the mail, make sure it's a valid letter.
Right. And again, that's where consumers can call any one of us.
Most definitely.
Before you call the IRS back,
Yes.
call us.
Call us.
And, you know, and we can help you verify that information. We had a stretch where a lot of people in the 413 area code were getting calls on the IRS. And what I did a lot, and you guys probably did too, but is we did conference calls where we called them back. And then the consumer could hear, because sometimes they believe you, and sometimes they think, well, maybe, you know, maybe I did it with $1 million, you know, and so we do the conference call where they can actually hear it, and they hear that our office is calling, and usually they'll say something not very polite and then hang up on us, and
Right.
you know.
Well, of course, they got caught.
Yeah,
So they don't want
I had one the other day say to me, you know, why are you wasting my time? I need to get on to somebody else that's going to believe me. And they hung up on me, you know. So I think we have to verify information, and we are all happy to help consumers do that.
Great, thank you. Kate, what are you hearing about in Berkshire County for scams?
Well, we have a pretty wide, we may not have any great number in one area, but we have diverse scams. And it's one of the hardest parts of my job is to explain to a consumer that a dispute with a legitimate business, there's a lot more hope of resolving it. Scammers change their name, their addresses, their post office boxes, and they move on to different territory.
They're usually boiler room operations, that's what they're called. And
What's
they're
it called?
usually a boiler room
Oh, yes,
operation.
yes, exactly. And so by the time the consumer calls us, the money's gone, and we write to the last known address that the consumer had. We call the number that the consumer has given us. I'm sure you do too. I often do research, what I call my detective work.
I do that all day long at work.
Yes, you're trying to locate. First of all, even with a legitimate company, you want to get as high up as you can when you're speaking with someone to resolve a legitimate issue. But with scams, you literally cannot get anybody. Sometimes it'll sound like it's an international destination that's calling. Other times it could be right here. And if you even reach someone, it's amazing how they have finessed the runaround. And so we're getting, one thing that troubles me is that we're getting telephone solicitations and door-to-door solicitations. And the telephone solicitations will, for example, is it okay to mention a company? This is not a complaint that we had, but there was recently a press release made by this company.
I prefer if you wouldn't mention
Okay.
any names,
Okay.
just to protect
Well,
ourselves.
There's a certain computer company, major computer company, that recently issued a release saying, we are not having our representatives call you and tell you that there's a virus and to let us into your computer. We are not doing that. That is not us calling. And what's happening is, I just recently had a case where a woman, an older woman, and they're always the scammer gets a little credibility when the person knows even one fact about them because they figure that they must know. She said, how did they know that I had that old computer? And I said, there are numerous ways they can find out information. But what that person was told was that this particular company has a virus, they represent that company, and what they need to do is have access, and there's various terms for it, but you agree to allow them into your computer. And they do a cleanup, and obviously what they also do is install malware, which we'll save for a different time to explain what malware is. And they also will take your credit card information and say that they're going to upgrade you to a more premium version of the software that you have. So a case that is ongoing right now did exactly that. She let him into a computer. It took hours. He was on her computer for hours. And she is kicking herself now for it. And I say, don't kick yourself. You're not the first victim of a scam, and you won't be the last. It's just that every outreach I do, I tell people, don't agree to anything with someone who calls you. If you call someone and you know who you're calling, that's different. And I don't mean now, sometimes a scammer will call a person and the consumer will have a good instinct, a red flag, and say, well, let me call you back and see if you're legitimate. Well, they give you a number they're going to answer, and they answer with a company's name. So that's not really the way to do it. The way to do it is, for example, your bank will never call you and ask you for personal information. So if someone calls you and they say they're calling from your bank, hang up, call the number that you always call your bank on and ask. Right. Even the police department, there was a scam not too long ago where they were collecting donations for the police department. And there's lots of tips about that, which we can do another time. But you know, there's paid solicitors for the group, and then there's the actual police, you know, doing that. But in any case, I tell consumers, please never ever say yes to a telephone call. A cold call is highly suspect. So we're getting those calls. We're getting people calling and saying, this is a fantastic deal, lifetime tech support, you know, $300.
Well, it's funny you mentioned the calls, but I want to add that they're also knocking on doors.
Yes, that's
and so
what
consumers, Jan, you and I had a conversation about this the other day, about door-to-door solicitations and consumers that are feeling the pressure because now they're in their space, they're in their home, and they don't know how to say, I'm sorry, the answer is no, I'm not interested. Consumers, basically what I want to say to them is, sleep on it. Don't
ask for your card.
Do your research. Call our office. Ask a family member. If you don't have a computer, ask someone who has a computer to do research for you. All you need to do is type in. Or
call us and we'll do it for you.
We'll do it for free, exactly. But be very careful. And I know that one of them is the utility, where they offer to save you money on your utility bill.
Competitive suppliers.
And they feel that consumers think, oh, wait a minute, I'm going to save money. And of course, who doesn't want to save money today? Everyone wants to save a buck here and there. But they're not doing their research. Many of the when you switch with these companies, these suppliers, you're locked into a contract. And sometimes you don't even save. So consumers need to do their research. Basically, that's the bottom line. It's just to...
Or if they don't know how, they can call us and we can do some research for them and let them know what we know, because we keep on top of these things.
Okay. Is there anything you want to add? Because we are running out of time now, and I want to give you a chance to...
No, I just think, just remember that we're here, and you know, we're happy. You can call us if you have a complaint, but you can call us to let us know about scams that are going around, and also just to run stuff by us. You know, we're here, and that's what we do.
Thank you. Kate?
And we
do
have
it 20 seconds.
And we do it because we like it. We get a good feeling, especially in a preventative situation, to have prevented someone from falling victim to a scam. And please call us. All of our services are always free of charge, and we're totally committed to what we do.
So you heard some comments from the Berkshire County local consumer program, the Franklin Hampshire County Consumer Protection Office, and the Hamden County, which is our office. So basically, I want to say to you, thank you for watching, and I do hope that you learned a lot from the show and that you do reach out and take advantage of the services that our offices provide. I hope you found today's program informative and empowering. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.